So basically, what's been going on in the United States is within the rap game, there's a couple big bosses. You got the biggest boss in the business, Rick Ross. You got a couple other ones. What's this? Okay, Rick Ross, and you got Birdman, like I was mentioning in my previous videos. Uh, 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 Birdman, uh, rapper. You got people like Birdman, you got people like Ricky, you got people like Wayne, Drake, Nicki, and you got Cardi, you got Takashi, you got all these big names or whatever. And basically, it is their duty or whatever, I guess they feel like, to where if I'm listening to a Birdman song, actually, it doesn't go that way. Birdman just holds on to it and doesn't share it with anybody. But if I listen to Takashi right now and I do not listen to a Birdman song, Birdman strong arms basically with his power or whatever, Takashi or whatever, to take money from his songs or whatever and to feed Birdman or whatever. Same with Rick Ross or whatever. Everybody funds the money back, funnels the money back to him or whatever. All the little black rappers or whatever, quote unquote, uh, I was going to use the N word or whatever. All the uh, 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 little ones, like the ones that aren't so popular or whatever, you start listening to them, these guys come and take their money or whatever. And it becomes a family on family thing. And then, but the smaller families don't understand. Um, the smaller families don't understand uh, that they're feeding this family. And then it becomes a dispute or whatever. Um, they're saying that could have been the possible reason why Boosie Badass was shot. He wouldn't give up the money to Rick Ross or and stuff like that. Um, uh, they wouldn't give up the money. He wouldn't give up the money to Rick Ross or nothing, and that's why, or potentially some boss in his area, uh, for the money he gets for streaming or whatever. It's a constant battle or whatever, and they have everyone as these music robots or whatever because they found out everybody's favorite music or whatever. And unless you change your music playlist or whatever, they basically got you as this bot or whatever, and they're just like destroying your lives or whatever, and then they started that YouTube. They charge that this was and it's starting to get to the point everyone's tired of YouTube Music and Spotify, and they're realizing now like, oh my God, I spent all this time listening to this music, and then it's a big fight because they're like, where's this person listening to my music? Because you're considered like a music listener to them, to their economy or whatever. So they jump on you like like white on rice. Like it gets even scary or whatever. So if you're a big media binger or whatever, they rely on you or whatever, and it could potentially destroy your life or whatever. And as soon as you realize or whatever, is when they gonna jump on you and try to get you to keep watching it or whatever. But you really want to make sure your real life is the priority or whatever, in my opinion, or whatever, if you want to stay alive and be successful or whatever. And they understand that also or whatever, so they're going to slowly wean you off the music and wean you off of this and wean you off of that. And I've been experiencing that recently, so I got a first-hand taste of it when I started weaning off the music and working on my own stuff again. It started to hit hard or whatever. I could feel it. And it's gotten to that point where a lot of those top dogs are on their way out. They're getting old of their natural lives, in their natural lives. So they're trying their hardest or whatever to really generate all that income, but it's not in our best interest sometimes. it might not be in your best interest either. And if it's not in your best interest or whatever, it's not very healthy for you or your family or the ones around you to continue to invest into something that isn't your best interest, like listening to music about like crimes such as rape, murder, molestation, and dealing of narcotics or whatever. It's even corrupted the minds of our officials or whatever. It's a very severe virus or whatever. And I will tell everyone this is part of that virus or whatever, the COVID-19 virus or whatever, believe it or not, is music or whatever. Um, and scientists are going to say, well, who are you to say that this is one of the reasons why we're having a very big virus outbreak? And that is one of the reasons. There's many different reasons. Music isn't the only reason. Overconsumption of music isn't the only reason, but it's one of the reasons. Most definitely. It's got our police forces corrupt or whatever. It's got government officials corrupt or whatever, and that's causing the economy to just self-destruct or whatever because the economy is a very serious thing or whatever. It's not like this rap music thing or whatever. It actually takes a lot of calmness or whatever, and as well as just life in general, to be a healthy society, it takes a lot of uh, restraints or whatever. And I guarantee if you stop listening to music, you're going to feel that restraint or whatever. But I guarantee you, or whatever, if you keep pushing and doing your own thing off of whatever you've been addicted to or whatever, not just music, it's addictions. Um, they're going to try to pull you back. You got to do everything in your power to get free yourself from those addictions because those addictions are paying people or whatever, and they're just and basically the virus is or whatever. They're ready to just off you or whatever. So it's like almost then it gets the mafia or whatever, and you have to basically fight back or whatever with everything you've ever learned in school or whatever, and output it into the world or whatever, or else you will die or whatever. Okay, you have to stop listening, even if you're on assistance or whatever. If you continue with your addictions or whatever, you can't break free or whatever. It's became that time for a lot of people or whatever to free their addictions or whatever. They cannot continuously vaccinate you over and over because you have a sexual or drug addiction or whatever. Eventually, you will just be let go or whatever, and that is what's going on. Okay, to a certain aspect to a certain aspect. This is an addiction treatment center or whatever. I have received addiction treatment quite recently in the hospital or whatever, which saved my life or whatever last year, exactly a year ago. I went completely sober off the marijuana. It really freed me up. They even took away my phones, which you could feel immediately that pressure when they took away the phones. It's an addiction. Okay. And then the industry, entertainment industry and stuff is like, where's our biggest subscriber? Because what did you use your phones for? Social media, music, movies, TV shows, all these things that are used to cause hallucinations as well as it's this thing called they put you into a psychosis. Oh, I'm extremely sorry. It's this thing called they put you in a psychosis state or psychotic state or whatever for no reason or whatever. And it's called, what is the word called when they uh, um, uh, um, have your mind or whatever, and they do that circular movement or whatever on the TV or whatever, and they do it for when you want to free the addiction from cigarettes or whatever. Uh, I can't freeing addiction techniques or whatever, and it is or whatever. I can't exactly remember it, but everyone knows what I'm talking about or whatever. Yeah, you can go to Las Vegas and have it done by Chris Angel, the Mind Freak or whatever. That is or whatever. It's this one thing or whatever that they will not let me say or whatever because they have full control over my mind or whatever. But you've heard that one before or whatever. So you need to go to a addiction place or whatever, rehabilitation or whatever, if you agree with what I'm saying or whatever. You may be free from addiction at all or whatever. You may be the one that creates the addiction or whatever, and you're laughing right now or whatever. Welcome to my channel or whatever. I'm one of the smartest when it comes to this, whatever. Straight from the lion's mouth himself or whatever. And that's not just Canada or whatever. That's just where I reside. But Canada's fairly good with helping people, or should be, with helping people with their addictions. But here's the big news flash, everyone. Here is the big news flash. Those employees or whatever of those addiction treatment centers or whatever are facing addiction themselves or whatever. And it doesn't have to be drugs or whatever, like I said, or whatever. It could also be entertainment and media or whatever. It does not have, and I don't want to show drugs on this or whatever, because I've already done so much drugs or whatever. But media, internet, television, radio, magazines, newspapers. There's also this thing called real life or whatever, your own or whatever. And I know your eyes could possibly be so strained or whatever from all those devices you look at or whatever. Same with your brains or whatever. They're completely off in reality or whatever. And that can cause delusions or whatever for some people, if not everyone. Even I am delusional to a certain point, but I'm only delusional for like a 0.13 seconds or whatever. Some people are delusional like, whoa, it's unbelievable how delusional they are. They're delusional the whole way through. Okay? And that's how some people are in life. They are delusional the whole way through. They just can't get enough of the taste of the Twitter lollipop, the Instagram lollipop, the Facebook lollipop, the YouTube, that lollipop. Okay, and they love the taste of it, and they savor on it, and it's like Gilbert Grape almost or whatever with the contents or whatever. And there's somebody paying this lollipop, which they make appear like a lollipop, but actually it is like a pipeline here, and somebody is feeding you. It's like there's a hole in the top of the lollipop that excretes poisons and things, and this um, around the lollipop is a sweet, very like the most tastiest thing you've ever tasted or whatever. You might be tasting on it for years and years and years, and they're feeding you poison through the pipeline the entire time, and then you get to the point where like you're like, whoa, my body's not, and then you're already so poisoned or whatever, and you're trying to get away from this lollipop or whatever, but it's chasing you like a little Twitter bird or whatever. And then it's like, oh, you're not just on Twitter, you're on here, so they're taking pictures of you too. Then you're on here, so they're sharing about it also. And then you're on here, so they're doing the YouTube thing with it also. And then they got this one or whatever where they can just send that quick ghost one to people and all that. It's like it's nonstop or whatever. So it's like sometimes you gotta free yourself from the social media giants as well. It's like there's so many different things in this world. It, sometimes we just get sick of the same things, like buying the same exact thing from the grocery store. I know some people like that or whatever that for the longest time or whatever would not stop um, um, uh, would not stop purchasing the same sort of bread or whatever and stuff like that for like 50 years or whatever. You've been eating the exact same bread or whatever, even 25, even 10, even one, even months of eating the same bread or whatever, the same brand or whatever, is causing what is it called? Well, it could cause an insulin resistance in my body when it comes to diabetes, but it causes you not to be fresh or whatever in your thinking or whatever, because you don't get that fresh positivity and enlightenment that the new tastes and ingredients can give you or whatever. And you basically uh, uh, what's it called? Get filled up with the same chemicals or whatever if you're consuming the exact and nutrients. Sorry, I accidentally said chemicals instead of nutrients. And you basically are filling yourself up with the exact same nutrients every single day or whatever with what you're consuming or whatever. And your body is like basically getting like stale or whatever with these same nutrients or whatever. and that's how your body will feel or whatever. If you've gotten to that point or whatever, is you'll start to feel like stale or whatever, and because your immune system is going to get jeopardized because you keep feeding it this same poison or whatever, and then it becomes poison or whatever. That's one thing I never understood about tomatoes or whatever. Okay, people say, if you've ever learned in science class, that there's a color characteristic of certain plants or whatever that warn the human body as well as animals or the human mind, sorry, or even animals' minds, sorry, not just humans, but they warn you like what specific duty this specific plant has or whatever. So red tomatoes or whatever red is supposed to be a sign of warning or whatever. So if you eat a nice sweet juicy tomato or whatever, it's not going to hurt you or whatever. But if you start eating a lot of tomatoes or whatever, to a certain point or whatever, they start to poison you or whatever because they understand you want to eat a tomato to fill your belly up to get some nutrients to keep moving or whatever and succeeding in life. So once and believe it or not, the defensive mechanism works in this way. Once the tomatoes, um, once you eat so many tomatoes over the years or even over a certain amount of time or whatever, the defense mechanism is that um, uh, if you eat all their fruit or whatever, then there will be no actual tomato plants anymore or whatever. So that's the defensive mechanism to stop you from eating so many of the tomato fruit, and that helps the tomato succeed in its growing life or whatever. And then that's actually good for us in the end because we do enjoy an occasional tomato or whatever. But if you start to overly consume tomatoes or whatever, that red warning of the tomatoes will really start hitting you hard or whatever within uh, your whole body. I think it starts to affect your cardiovascular as well as your digestive and all that. I think it starts with that digestive and then it moves up to the cardiovascular if you don't stop or whatever. And believe it or not, it can result to tomato intoxication and stuff like that. Same with all different plants or whatever, and animals and stuff, especially animals too. Animals, it has to be a perfect mix of all of everything. And if you don't get the perfect mix of everything, um, then it could be detrimental. This is like I go back to something like everybody's learning right away in school, but I learned about the food pyramid in school too, or whatever, and it only taught me so much or whatever. But you got to really watch not getting off that food pyramid or whatever. It depends on what kind of person you are specifically or whatever with your nomenclature, because there's three different body types or whatever. Uh, the three different body types in men that I've researched. I'm not sure about women, but I haven't done my research on the women body shapes, but it's probably very similar or whatever. I'm not sure, so I wouldn't be able to tell you about that. But males, anyway, they have the three different body types: ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. And so, depending on your specific body type or whatever, uh, is going to be how you're going to set your diet for yourself. But at the same time, um, there is people that know the exact diet or whatever, and that's what you should be following. Some of the people that know your exact diet or whatever, that's going to help you be the strongest person in that specific body type, or like the most successful when it comes to nutrition, et cetera, where you're not having um, that over fat creation or the excessive fat creation and all that I have or whatever, and a lot of us do. Because technically, I believe I am an endomorph or whatever, but I'm overweight. I'm an overweight endomorph, and some people can be a mixture of two. Like some could say I'm a mixture between an endo and an ecto, or an endo and a mesmo or whatever. Actually, I think I'm a mix between all three because I have ancestors that are ectomorph, and I have ancestors that are mesmo, and then I also have ancestors that are endo or whatever. So they mixed together and they created this this new body type or whatever that hasn't been written down or whatever.